Hey guys, Richard here. In this video, we're going to talk to the crash victim of the 630 reverse tadpole fat tire e-trike. Yeah, that's right. I got Devin and Emma in, we'll call it the studio, and we're going to talk about the crash just a little bit because there's some serious things here we need to discuss. We're going to respond to a couple of comments and a couple of questions that you folks had, and we'll just kind of see where the video goes. So here we go. All right, big thanks to Emma and Devin for being here with us today. Look at that, all smiles and like, woohoo! Well, let's just get right to the heart of the matter. Devin, how are you feeling?
For the most part, a lot better. My hip and knee well, actually my elbow and my knee are the worst.
Yeah, elbow and knee are worst, but you're still sore too. I mean, you're still
Sore.
still achy. So
But the knee is the most sore.
yeah, and today is day 7. It happened a week ago today.
Yes.
All right, and you took a week off of work, or most of the week off. You haven't been back to work yet.
Been gone from work for 5 shifts now.
Yeah. All right.
A little rough.
All right, Emma, we're going to get your thoughts on the matter here in just a moment. But before we do, let's go ahead and replay the crash.
Okay.
Let them see it for anybody who hasn't seen the crash yet. Right on. Oh, here comes Devin. There we go. Now you've seen the video. Devin, when you jumped on that bike that day, what was going through your mind? Like, hey, we got something new here to test out. We're going to check this thing out. It looks really cool because of the design of it. It's got 2 wheels in the front. I mean, I love the look of this bike, and quite frankly, I still enjoy riding the bike because I think it's pretty neat to ride. It's quite different. What was going through your mind when you were about to test it?
I was a little hesitant because the first version had the really narrow, like thin wheels. Do we still have that? Oh, it is over there. Okay.
Yeah.
So it has the really thin, very narrow wheels, which makes it very squirrely. So when I got on that one, you had texted me a couple times already about it. Super excited. So I jumped on it, took off down the street. A lot more stable, less back and forth and side to side movement with the handlebars.
Yeah, and the way I was describing that, the handlebars felt like they were a little more stiff.
Yes.
And so it took a little more effort to turn them, so it didn't get that really floppy fishtail that you get with the other one.
Right. So the other one with the really narrow wheels, like it just allowed for a lot more wiggle room in the bike to just move, and it's like a newborn horse. You just felt all over the place.
Yeah, and also part of the reason there is that one over there has 16-inch tires. So the smaller the diameter of the tire, the more it has when it's turning. Where this, fatter, but it's also a 20-inch tire, so there's a little more there that it takes in order to make that turn left or right. So that also probably helps it feel more stable.
Oh, definitely. But you right off the bat, like riding the two, you can tell a difference as far as stability goes on the two bikes. But took off down the road. I went to down around the corner, not even maybe a quarter mile, and then turned it back around, started coming back.
Any issues when you turned it around?
I forgot, when I went to go make a left to turn it around, and when I did, I went to full lean, and it wouldn't turn anymore, and I remembered, you gotta actually turn the handlebars, it being a trike. So, it hit full lean, but it kind of bounced back, so it wasn't anything scary. It was just that's right, you got to actually still turn the handlebars to get the bike to actually make a full U-turn.
Yeah, you can't just do it by leaning like you do a typical bike or something.
Like on a typical bike, you just lean and the bike will eventually, depending on how fast you're going or how well of a rider
take you where you want to be.
Yeah, it'll turn right back around. On this, you actually still have to treat it like a trike and actually turn the wheel to get it to turn around. So I hit it, but it bounced back. So I turned it back around. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. And then came back. I'd been testing out through the U-turn and just going around some turns around here in the neighborhood. I had hit a couple just trying to feel out how stable it was compared to when you ride the 16-inch with those narrow tires. It's an unforgettable experience with how it feels. So when I jumped on that one, like I said, way more stable. So I was back and forth, really getting the bike to just swerve, which I do on all the bikes that come through here, just to see how
they handle. Get the feel of them.
Exactly. Felt comfortable. Felt good. I mean, it felt way better than the 16-inch. I was really surprised, really happy with it, and that's when I started coming back. And
you were coming in hot, were you?
I was somewhere between 15 and 17 when everything went down, just based off of what I had seen the bike do already. And I felt comfortable at that speed. It wasn't all the way at the top where, straight line only. It was definitely, I felt, where the bike should be able to perform what I was doing.
Okay. So take us up to the point of right before the crash. What was happening? What were you doing?
So I came around. There's a couple small curve bend, whatever you want to call them, in the neighborhood. So I came around them, just still leaning the bike, feeling it, and everything was fine. Had no issues. And then came around that corner, and it hit a point. I'll say full walk of lean, and from there, it wouldn't come back. It just stayed there, and it.
So when you came around the curve, and you had that lean going in, right?
Right.
And so once you reached a certain point in that lean, it felt like it was just gonna.
So it's kind of hard to see just from the camera angle, but for me, what I remember is the bike leaned all the way, and it almost felt like something latched in, almost. The best way to explain it, and it was hooked, it wouldn't come back.
Yeah, gotcha.
So for me, having ridden plenty of bikes, obviously I'm doing this number to try and get the bike to pull back up, but it wouldn't. It just felt like something was hooked.
Yeah.
And
I think what it is with this particular design, the way the the two front tires lean like this, and you can see how it's designed, because it's the steering is cocked sideways, so it's not perfectly straight. But I think what it is that once you get to a certain pivot point there, it probably does feel kind of like, okay, we're stuck in that position because we can't really get back up. And it could have something to do with body weight and just the center of gravity, because once you reach that certain point of no return, and I think that's where you hit that point of no return.
I hit the point, all right, for sure. And that's what kind of surprised me, and it was very split second, but the only thing I could think was to just obviously try and pull it back up, but then
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen, and I knew after that I was going down.
What was going through your mind as you were getting ready to hit the pavement? Was there time to have a quick thought?
Not really. It was just it's driving straight towards the ground. It was locked, and I was fighting it, and then it was
done.
Skid.
When you watch the video, it all happened really quickly.
Yeah.
And of course, the mind can perceive and see things, and we can calculate a lot of things in our mind rather quickly. But when you see it in video, it all happened in a matter of a second or two, and it was over with. Emma.
Yes.
When you saw Devin in trouble, what was going through your mind?
It was more or less just a moment of,
oh no,
almost hopelessness, because it's one of those things where it's like you're watching it happen, but you can't do anything about it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. There's nothing you can do to help until after the fact.
Yeah.
And so really it was just the aftermath of you and I literally running up to him and going, what's wrong? Are you okay? Are you broken?
Yeah, for sure.
I think one of the things for me that I've started thinking about, just through your perspective and talking about it, I didn't have the thought right then and there, but it's more or less after I've had the time to sit and think about it, I'm kind of, I guess it was almost surprised, because he had been handling the bike so well. He had been doing really well. The bike was handling it just fine. It's not really, he wasn't doing anything that I feel is outside the parameters that the bike has been allowed through the manufacturer to do. It goes faster than he was going. It can lean more than he was leaning it.
Yeah.
And he was handling it so well. The bike was handling it so well. and then it was like
all of a sudden
it was just like a
couldn't handle it anymore.
yeah.
So it kind of leaves you with a false sense of security because, like you said, you feel good, you feel confident, things are going just fine until all of a sudden they're not.
Yeah, that was
like surprise.
That was the thing for me was, like I said, I had already been back and forth on it, trying to just see how well the fatter tires were doing as far as compared to, again, the narrow tires of how does it lean, how does it ride, how much more comfortable is it to ride.
Right.
All
right.
That's 16 inches, just
not for us.
No. It's not. No, not at all.
It's not for the lighthearted. It's only for the brave and the courageous, I suppose. And I'm not that brave and courageous, right?
Yeah. And I'm talking with them, like, I've been riding bikes, since a kid, like most people, but I've always been the one on the channel that first thing I do is I'll hop on a bike and go find a comfortable limit within myself to push the bike. And I felt like the bike was handling everything I was giving it just fine. Like I said, that bike does 22.
Yep.
I know I was in that parameter with the pedal assist that it had, that I had it set at to stay between 15 and 17. So I know I wasn't at the very top end of speed that the bike had, but I definitely found a point in it where I couldn't handle the little bit of just going through a curve.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Let's
go.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's nothing against like the manufacturer. I just think something about the design of the bike is just, it demands a lot of respect.
Yeah, and that's what I said in another recent video because I don't think there's a manufacturer defect. I think it's design. It's functioning exactly how it's designed, especially this front end and how it articulates and moves. It's just that it's a different style of bike, is what I was telling viewers in the other video. It's not a bike. It doesn't act like a trike. It's something completely different, and it can still be ridden safely. You just have to be careful with it. Get comfortable with it, get familiar with it, know its limits so they don't end up in a position where you were in where you leaned it a little further than what it was designed to lean and it just wouldn't come back from that. Yeah. Let's move on now and talk a little bit more about your injuries. So we're going to throw out a disclaimer right here because we might show a couple of those. So if you're squirmish, you might want to look away. But let's talk about some of your injuries. When you hit the pavement, what did you end up with? So we ended up with some road rash.
Road rash on the hands and wrist on my left.
Yep. Those look small and insignificant, but they weren't that day, were they?
Actually, this stuff wasn't too bad this day. This one was pretty messed up that day.
Yeah. That one was pretty messed up.
This is probably one of the more
gnarliest.
Gnarliest ones.
And we got bruising there too, so we can see now it's not just the cuts and the scrapes. You got bruising going on there too.
Yellow elbow for the past like 3 days that's shown up.
You want to show us your bird legs? Come on over here and show us your bird legs. Look at that knee.
So
oh yeah.
It's still discolored from all the road.
Yep, and all the scrapes going up.
And then.
Oh yeah. Yep.
All the way up, and then there's actually a spot
way up on your hip.
Here, way up on my hip.
Yeah. So nothing broken. No stitches were required.
No.
Did you go to the doctor? Did you go to the hospital?
I did not.
We did not call an ambulance for you.
No.
Kind of didn't want to do that. We were treated at home by mom and wife and Amanda.
Yes. Yeah.
Worked on him for a couple hours, cleaning his wounds with tweezers, pulling out rocks and dirt, while you sat there in agony and pain.
But he didn't go to the hospital.
But he did not go to the hospital. Right. Well, thankfully it wasn't worse. Thankfully it wasn't worse where you had to go to the hospital. We had to call an ambulance for you.
Yeah.
Which leads me into the next thing. There's been a lot of criticism about not wearing a helmet.
Yes, I know.
What happened there?
We're human. I decided that there was 2 bikes that day that just needed to be a quick ride, and I was going to take it down the street and come right back. There's a little turn to turn right back around on both bikes, and there was nothing ridden that little short path.
Didn't think twice of it, and I don't either, Devin.
Yeah.
So sometimes, guys, and I mentioned this in another video too, when we get all these bikes in here, especially after right after we assemble them and put them together, we'll hop on, and what we'll do is we'll just go down the street here, just a short distance right here in front of the house, and just right down there to the curve or something, back and forth, just testing the brakes, make sure there's nothing squeaking or squealing. And, that's basically what was going on. Emma and Devin and other family members, whenever we get something new, also neighbors and friends, they like to come out and just test ride. And that's what they were doing that day. Oh, we got 2 new bikes in. We're going to do a quick little test ride. And I'm guilty of it too. You know, right here in front of the house, not wearing a helmet. Does that make it okay? No, but we've already admitted to that. And we are only human beings. And I would bet that none of you are perfect, and you have probably done things that you shouldn't have done at some point in your life, whether it be wearing a helmet or something else. But we've been receiving a lot of grief about that, and yeah, rightfully so. We earned it. You know, we earned it because we weren't wearing a helmet that day. I wasn't either, so.
None of us were.
Yeah.
I was lucky.
Yeah, you were. You were very.
You weren't lucky. You were blessed. Let's put it that way.
We were all very blessed that day because it wasn't worse, but
Yep.
certainly you. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into some commentary, some comments that were found online, because we did receive a lot of heavy criticism. We received a lot of, hey, we hope Devin's okay. And just a quick note here. Hey, and that brings me to something else, and that is the CEO of SIxthreezero reached out to me a couple of times this week, just checking on Devin and wanted to find out how he was doing, because he saw the video and was genuinely concerned, and I appreciate that. You know, just it was nice to know that he reached out saying, hey, somebody got hurt on one of our products. You know, it maybe not was anything that the company did or manufacturer defect or anything. It was just one of those things that happened. But he reached out and said, hey, what's going on? How is he doing? And I really appreciate that. All right, so how about reading us a couple of those comments there, Emma?
Well, one of the comments actually goes along really well with what you just talked about. Is I don't really know this person's name, so I'm probably not gonna.
All right, so it's at ISCOOTCT. Yeah,
iScoot. So he actually said, he or she, they, actually said, I bet 630 will not like this video.
Yeah. Well, that's a good comment there, because a lot of manufacturers wouldn't like that type of publicity. Right. And I can tell you, Dustin said, I like your videos, Richard. I didn't care about that particular video. I was more concerned about Devin and how he was doing. So that was really cool.
You know, hearing throughout the week that he had messaged you, just checking up on me, and I really appreciate too. Like, 630 is an American company. Like,
American owned.
Yep, it's really nice to have a product that's American owned.
Yeah. And
still makes really good quality bikes. I'm not saying anything bad about that bike. I just pushed it too far on my own.
It's a little squirrely.
It is.
Emma, next comment.
Let's see. Okay, so Maximus, I think, is what that is, said, ouch, how long did that take to heal? Well, it's not healed.
Yeah, it's not healed yet. Been 7 days. A lot of it's looking better. If I had to guess, it's going to be probably the new year before I'm back to 100%.
Yeah. Probably at least a month before everything's fully scarred up and healed.
A lot of work to do on my knee to get it back to where it needs to be.
That is something we've discussed, is you're going to have to do some hip mobility and some
little therapy on that.
Sort of like some physical training and
just
stuff.
Some minor physical training to get the knee strengthened back up, especially with what I do.
Yep.
So.
All right. Another comment, question, anything?
Yeah, let's see. So, William Dillon 4282 said, how did that happen? What did he do to make that happen?
Well, I think we kind of answered that, right?
I think we've covered that a lot. Like, the bike leans, it's designed to lean. And personally, I just
leaned a little too far.
I leaned maybe too far for that bike.
For that speed, for
everything. So anyone that's like still thinking about getting the bike, which don't base it off of just what I've, like everything that's happened on our channel, like that bike is still a good bike. It's still designed really well. Yes, it had a lot of damage from what happened, which, I mean, it got drugged down the road a good 20 feet because of what I did. But the bike is still a good bike. There's nothing bad to say about it. It's just, you have to understand that with that bike, it demands a lot more respect and a lot more boundary setting than what you can do on a typical two-wheel bicycle or even a true traditional style trike. It demands that you respect its boundaries, and unfortunately, you have to find what that boundary is for each and every one of us. Based off of my size, my boundaries, I thought, would be a little bit more closer to its full potential of what the bike can do based off of my size. For me, apparently not.
Didn't work out.
Didn't work out.
All right, any other comments there or questions we want to address?
Yeah. So the only other one that we liked was from @JFearlessJourneys2112. And he just kind of did a nice job of defending you there a little bit. He said, "Dang, a lot of negative comments. It is easy to grab that bike for a short 100-yard drive or test drive without the gear. I've done it. I am sure most here have too. I, for one, will use this as a reminder to grab the gear, as sometimes those short rides go a little longer on these addictive bikes. Thanks for sharing."
Oh, excellent comment. That's exactly how I feel because, sometimes we just get carried away. We're having fun. We think we're safe because we're right here close. We're slow, and bad things can still happen. But really appreciate him for reaching out and saying something positive and acknowledging the fact that most people probably have done something similar.
Yeah. And there was
whether
other,
they want to admit
there was
it or
other
not.
comments out there
Yeah,
as
there were
well
more.
that were like, hey, like, it happens to the best of us. Like, it's unfortunate, but like,
I will say, for what the video was, we did have a good amount of positive comments. A lot of people
Mostly just
reaching
genuine
out
concern.
and going, "Hey,
Yeah.
like, I hope he's okay," type of a thing. And
we
we really
appreciate
appreciate that.
All of those comments I appreciate because being down for a week has been quite a challenge for somebody that's always on the go.
Yeah, Devin, let's talk about one other criticism. I don't know if you brought it up or if you have that comment there, Emma, but one other criticism before we wrap up this video, and that is you're a sheriff deputy.
Yep.
And you were concealed carrying that day. You conceal carry every day. Everywhere you go, you carry.
I don't leave the house without something.
Nor do I. So there was a lot of criticism because in part of the video clip, we saw what happened. That the video didn't show what happened, but we know what happened, and that is you lost your concealed carry.
Right.
Explain that.
So the holster I carry is level 1 retention, which if you know anything about the different levels of a holster, there's different levels. Level 1 is just a simple basic. There's tightness screw to hold the gun,
It kind of squeezes the gun.
It squeezes onto it, so that way it just holds it in place. I have mine super tight, without it being like a full, like if I had to like remove it, I don't have to like do this number, but it's strong enough to hold it in for any typical
scenario.
reason.
Scenario or anything that you're doing.
Yeah. So, but let's also remember the fact that I'm doing 15 to 17 miles an hour, somewhere in there.
You slid like 3 or 4
Slid-
feet on pavement.
I slid on pavement for a
Your
good
arm got sucked up
10,
underneath
15
you.
feet, and I bounced twice
Yeah.
off the road. There's a lot of criticism. There was a couple people saying that, oh, like he needs to be more careful. Like, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't cheap out on anything that I do.
Yeah.
No.
And the first thing I said when I started reading some of those comments is I give you a pass because there was nothing negligent about what you do.
No.
Look, you and I go to the gun range. We've practiced. We've trained together. I see exactly how you handle firearms, and I know you do it very professionally. And there was nothing normal about what happened there. And sliding down the road, on your weapon underneath you.
Yep. On my strong side where it's gonna be. I mean,
and it happened to come dislodged, and because of the pain after you stood up, you didn't recognize that it was loose and barely dangling.
Yeah.
It wasn't until you raised your shirt up. As soon as you raised your shirt up, it kind of fell out at that point.
Right.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. But you know what? I give you a pass, and I know most of our viewers give you a pass based on what you just went through.
Yeah.
Now, that is your personal everyday carry, when you're in your civilian clothes. When you're on duty, you have a level, what is it, level 3?
Level 3. So that's the highest level. So pretty much there's 2 different retentions that I have to bypass before I can fully remove my duty gun that's issued to me from that holster.
Right.
So there's two other
Safety mechanisms.
mechanisms, yes. That's the word I was looking for, that I have to remove before that gun can get pulled out.
Yeah, but that's not something that most people are going to have when they're just doing their everyday carry. They're not going to have that type of setup because it's bigger, it's bulkier, and you can't hide it underneath your clothing.
Right.
And the whole point of concealed carry is that it's concealed, so it needs to be a smaller package.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be a smaller package, something you can easily conceal, so it doesn't have all that extra level of retention there. So yeah, we give Devin a pass.
I think it would be understandable for more people to give me criticism if my weapon had dislodged during the crash to where it slid another 15 feet away from me.
Yeah.
That would have been different. That's more negligent in my mind. The fact that I stood up,
hobbled around
for a good 2-3 minutes, trying to see how everything catch my breath, and then something happened.
Yeah.
Little understandable.
It stayed on through the crash, and kudos to that. And here's something else too. A lot of these folks that are making these type of comments are not gun carrying. They're not 2A supporters. They don't know a lot about weapons or handguns, and they probably frown on the idea that some of us even have them. That's okay. They don't have that knowledge base. They don't understand how maybe the retention works, how you carry it. They just see somebody lose a gun.
Right.
And so from their perspective, I can kind of understand some of the comments because they just didn't know. They don't, they just don't know.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's one of the biggest things, especially with the world that we live in right now. Everyone is stressed and angry and irritated, and so everyone latches on to the first thing that someone does, or they perceive that someone does wrong.
Yep.
And they immediately want to go and attack them for it.
Yeah.
And I obviously, like you said, I get what they're saying. If you're not a supporter of that, obviously there's a whole controversy around that. But at the end of the day, if there's one person I've ever met in my entire life that is trained as much as he has and is proficient, we've been together for like 6 years, and this man, if there's one inanimate object that he respects the most, it is a firearm. He doesn't play with it. It's not a toy.
Absolutely.
He's done so much training just to be safe around them and how to handle them safely and how to carry it safely. His job surrounds, how to do that safely. And so that's one of the things where it's like you said, like, I think we can give him a pass here. Like any other time in life, he's very respectful around firearms. He's very respectful around how you carry it, how you handle it, what you do. He was literally through a crash and he slid across the pavement, like
on his belly, on his side.
I wouldn't be surprised if it came loose, you know.
Understood. All right, hey guys, thank you so much for hanging out and making this video with me today and talking about the incidents around last week's crash. And I know our viewers appreciate it. So with that, guys, we're going to wrap up this video. So go ahead and continue to make your comments down below. We will read them. We may not respond to them. I think we're going to close this out, though, because this is one near tragedy, drama that we want to just put behind us. So, but go ahead and leave whatever comments you'd like down there. And make sure you subscribe if you're new here, because we have content for everyone, don't we, guys?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. And we always try to make it truthful and honest and invite you guys into our lives and just let you know what we're doing and how we're doing it. Even when we make a mistake or we make a wrong decision, we share that with you too.
We own up to it.
We own up to it. So we hope you
it.
appreciate that. So make sure you subscribe, because you'll see more of that kind of stuff, because we're not perfect. That's going to be it for this video, guys. See you in another one. Ride responsibly, ride safe.